Students, welcome to the FR webinar. We are about to start the preparation for the June 2025 session. And this webinar is going to help you understand the FR exam and how to approach it and how to make sure that you get maximum marks in this exam. So let's begin. I have made these slides to make things understandable to you, how to deal with this paper. It is a challenging paper, but it is a very rewarding paper as the contents of this exam are very practical. The things that you're expected to apply in your workplace will be taught and would be make you understand in this exam. So let's begin. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Danish. I will be your tutor for FR exam, and I have qualified some time ago, back in 2006. I have been teaching this exam for a long time, and I've been working with Vertex as well. I've also taught this exam in various institutes, and I have been able to achieve exceptional results. And I'm going to share why this has been possible, why I was able to achieve exceptional results. I'm going to share important tips with you that will help you gain extra marks, score really high in this exam. This is a very important exam. So let's begin. So I would like to emphasize the purpose of the webinar. The purpose of the webinar is to make you people understand and appreciate the importance of this exam. You see, you people are when you're qualified, when you're done your ACCA, or even before doing the ACCA, when you join any business, any firm, or even if you start your own business, the first things that you're going to apply would be taught in this exam. There is this connection with this exam. The initial exam was financial accounting, the FA that you know, and this is the advanced level of FA, which is FR, and you will be understanding the details, the items which are going to deal in day-to-day basis. So this exam is extremely practical. The stuff that you're going to learn here can be applied straight away. And if you have good understanding of the concepts understood in this exam, you will be very successful in your workplace or in your business if you plan to start a business of your own. So this is very important exam. So let's move on and understand the overview of the exam, like what are the expectations, why this is important, and what approach you need to adopt. So the first thing, as I have already given you a brief overview, that this exam helps students to understand the application of the accounting standards. You see, you people are familiar with the accounting standards. In your initial exam, you people have been exposed to few accounting standards, but in this exam, you will be exposed thoroughly to important accounting standards which are applied in daily life in businesses. So you will be dealing with various situations that can relate to them and how they impact the financial statements. So that's why it's very practical. It is applied on day-to-day basis, and students will understand various accounting standards, their different treatments. So for applying the standards, you need to have a very comprehensive understanding of the standards, the treatment that they guide, so that you could apply them properly. So the key thing is the accounting standards and how to apply those accounting standards to various demanding business situations. If we move on to the next thing, you will be working somewhere. You will be working under your boss or and you will be subordinate. So you can make a mark if you have a deeper understanding of the accounting standards of the, like, for example, the formats of the financial statements. If you have good skill to apply and make the financial statements or apply the standards like the standards related to inventory, the standards related to the preparation of financial statements, complicated standards as well related to the financial instruments. So these things will give you an edge over others if you have good understanding of this exam. So the scale, the range of this exam is quite wide because it starts from the basic double entry and it goes to the complicated group accounts, which is the most complicated area of the syllabus. So you need to have a strong understanding of the basics, and you have to cover all the important areas of the financial reporting. And the maximum that is expected of you is to develop the group accounts, that is regarded as the consolidations. Although you are not new to these concepts, since you have been studying these concepts in the initial paper, financial accounting, that is FA, but the competence expected in this exam is far greater than the initial paper FA. So now, the approach that I would like you to have in this exam is to think as if you are, when you're solving your questions, when you're understanding the concepts. I expect you people to be thinking as if you are working in real life. Whenever a question comes up, so you have to think that this is a real scenario and you have to apply a specific standard in this given situation. So that if you do that, that is going to help you prepare and understand and enjoy this challenging exam. So you're only going to enjoy this exam, you're going to have a better understanding if you try to understand things. A lot of people think that financial reporting is just about root knowledge, like just learn the formats, learn the treatments, but they do not realize the implications, the deeper knowledge, the rationale behind the various accounting treatments. So if you understand that, then you're actually going to have a very good understanding, and that is going to be reflected in the work that you've done. So let's understand. So what are the expectations? You need to have a practical approach to learning that will help you benefit from your learning. And like when you understand things, your point of view, your application of the standards will be totally different because you know, and you will not be focused on one specific area. You will be focusing on all the areas linking with a specific issue. And there are going to be some complicated accounting conventions, concepts, and they will become easy to understand if you have this practical approach. You need to think that you are in a real life, and you need to ask yourself a question: what is the implication of this concept or this specific standard in a real life scenario? If you think like that, then it means that you are adopting a practical approach. So you see, without this practical approach, you will be facing a lot of difficulty in real life. So if you start adopting this approach from your study level, you will enjoy your study and you will be better prepared for the real life when you are actually working somewhere in any organization. So this practical approach is very important. Always ask this question of yourself, like how would this be applied in a real business? If a client is involved in a situation, how would this treatment would be applied? What alternative treatments are allowed by the accounting standards? So things will become really interesting to learn. So I hope you understand what I mean here, the application of the accounting standards in a practical way. So if you people have any questions regarding this slide, you can ask me. You can use the chat box. You can unmute yourself and you can ask your questions. I have some questions. Let me see. Okay, no questions from you people so far. So I hope I have made myself understandable to you people what I expect you to do in this exam. Okay, if there are no questions, we can move on to the next area, which is the format of your exam. So the format of the exam is very typical. which is like for all the skill level exams, you have the 100 marks, and the time allocated is 3 hours. You will have three sections: section A, section B. Section A and section B would be multiple choice, and they will be marked by a computer, whereas the section C is going to be human marked. And the marks allocated to section A are 30. You will be expected to deal with 15 objective test questions. And so every question is going to have 2 marks. So that sums up to 30 marks. And then section B is also 30 marks, but it is slightly different. It consists of three scenarios, like three scenarios, 5 questions for every scenario. So again, that sums up to 15 questions in total for section B, and the total marks are 30. So the important thing to understand here that for every scenario, there is going to be a piece of information, and the 5 questions will be related to that chunk of information, and you have to relate your answers. You have to use the information to have the correct answers of the 5 questions related to that specific scenario. So if we move on to section C now, so you see the section A and section B is always typical in any exam, but section C is specific to every exam. In this exam, you see, if we just conclude the whole marks, if the total marks are 100 and the 30 marks are covered in section A and 30 marks in section B, so you're done with your 60 marks. So the remaining marks are 40. So the 40 marks are dedicated to your section C, and in section C, you just have 2 questions. So your 40 marks would be divided into two 20 markers. And the 20 markers are specifically allocated to 2 areas. One of them is the interpretation of financial statements. Again, this is something not new to you. You people have already studied the interpretation, which is regarded as the ratios. Initially, you calculate the ratios, then you interpret those ratios to make the users of the financial statements understand what is in the financial statements. So one of the question is dedicated to interpretations. The other 20 marker in section C is dedicated to the group accounts. So this is basically the format. And for section A and for section B, the examiner has clearly given the guidelines that those sections could be tested from any area of the syllabus. So if any of the syllabus is done, so which means that the examiner has a wide range of areas to test. So you cannot go for any selective study. Okay. So now we move to the further, like whatever I've said. Let's go around. Like this, a 3 hour time exam. The passing mark is 50, and all the questions are compulsory, and there are no choices, and they must be answered. And we've already discussed that section A is based on any area of syllabus, whereas the section C is specifically dedicated to 2 areas. Okay. So these 2 questions relating to interpretation and the group accounts are human marked. Okay, so this is what you need to know about the format. So if there are any questions, you can ask your questions. The most important area is the section A and section B. 60 marks are dedicated for these 2 sections, and they are from any area of the syllabus, which means that the examiner can test you anywhere. At times, the examiner provides like tests you from a specific area, like they might ask many questions from a specific area, or they might ask questions from all sorts of areas of the syllabus. So it is up to the examiner. So you cannot like point certain areas. Okay. Yes. Yes. I think someone was about to ask a question. Okay. If everything is clear, we can move on to the next slide, which relates to the understanding of the FR syllabus. Let's see what are the expectations that you need to satisfy in the syllabus. So we're going to look at the key areas, and then we're going to yes, I'm going to talk about which area is the best to start with. Always remember, this is the golden rule that always go with section A and section B in the exam. Never, never, never go for section C. Okay, because section C can end up taking a lot of time in the exam, and it only has 40 marks. Section A and section B have 60 marks. So your best chance to secure a pass is through attempting section A and section B first and try to get maximum marks out of the two sections. And then any more marks needed to secure a pass can be secured through the section C. Okay. So I'm going to talk about these things. I've got later slides where I'm going to discuss the whole approach to the examination thoroughly. Okay, so before we do that, I have this just an overview of the FR syllabus. I'm also going to have a detailed discussion of the syllabus, the important standards, and the other areas. So the key areas of the syllabus is the conceptual and regulatory framework. This is basically how these standards are developed, what are the bases of the development of standards. So all those things are covered under the conceptual and the regulatory framework. The regulatory framework relates to the regulations which are decided and which are the basis for the development of the accounting standards. And then, the interpretation is a critical area. You see, this word keeps on coming back, the interpretation of the financial statements, because you see, the simple calculation of the accounting ratios is just regarded as number crunching, which does not have a lot of marks because that's easy. If you know a formula, you can pick figures from the financial statements, you could easily calculate the ratios. So a lot of marks are not allocated there. It is the interpretation, like whatever formulas you have applied, you have calculated a certain ratio. You need to make the marker understand what is the meaning of this ratio, how you interpret that. So this is quite critical. And this is not going to be simple generic answer. It has to be specific because the examiner will make the exam in a way that they will be giving you specific situations which are going to be related to the ratios that you calculate. So if you do not understand the scenario of the question, you will miss out on important marks which are hidden in the interpretation. So it's very important that the interpretation is well understood. It has to be specific. It has to be related to the scenario given by the examiner. If you write generic answers, you're going to lose out on big marks. But if you want to score high, you have to have specific answers, like the result that you got from the ratios. And there will always be some extra information hidden in the question, which you need to relate to the results of your ratios, and that is the complete interpretation that is expected of you. So this will help you earn the extra marks, and this will help you achieve the high score in this exam. So we will be working on this so that we do not end up only passing the exam. Basically, the first milestone is to get a pass, but that's not enough. You have to work towards scoring really high, because that is also going to give you a confidence, and that will be shown well on your CV. And when you talk about it later in your life, that I scored an 80 plus in FR exam. We have students who have done really well. One of our students scored 97% in the FR exam. That student is in our group, and he studied with us, and he scored such a high mark. But the important thing that I would like to appreciate about that student is that he said that I did practice of every material that was available. So if you do practice, you are no less than that high scoring student. So the next key area is the group accounts, which is very it is very close to the heart of the examiner. the group accounts. He loves that topic, and he keeps on giving you challenging situations regarding this question. So, like, it is one of the 20 markers in section C, and you will get a really good score if you do this question very well. You do it in a proper format. You do the proper workings, like the major workings are the calculation of the goodwill, the retained earnings, the non-controlling interest. So these things carry a lot of marks. So you have to show a proper structure of the question. You need to show proper workings. You need to reference those workings, so you could get your easy marks. But if you are not organized and you're not structured, then you might end up losing a lot of marks. So a lot of content is available. We have a lot of question practice done for you to get help on this important area. So next thing, that we have the plenty of accounting standards which will be related to this group accounts question, which will be related to that interpretation questions, and these accounting standards will also be in your section A and section B. And you can also expect some of the interpretation questions in the section A and section B. So these, as the weighting of the topics, the a lot of marks are actually allocated to the accounting standards, because those accounting standards will be tested in section A, B, and C. You can expect the accounting standards to be applied in your group accounts, in your accounting standards as well. So we move on to the next step, the next slide, where we're going to look at the exam technique, the tips for scoring high marks. Okay. In the meantime, I think I have a question here. Yeah, I've already answered that. No, that is different. FR exam is different. Okay. So I think we can move on with the next slide. Okay, I will be answering your questions after every slide. If you have any questions, you can speak up, you can unmute yourself, you can post your question in the chat box. Okay, so we move on to the next slide here. The exam techniques and strategies. So the most important thing is time management. A lot of students end up spending a lot of time on certain areas of the exam, which could be controlled, which could be managed well. If you attempt section A and section B first, section C tends to test students, so you might end up wasting a lot of time in section C. That's why it is recommended to do section A and section B first. The next thing that comes up is how to approach questions. What are the common pitfalls which are faced by the students? So let's look at these things in detail. We can then move on. These are just the headlines or the main points. They will be discussed in detail in the next slide. So the detailed exam techniques, I have developed these some points which will help you understand and develop a better understanding of the techniques. So first thing, the time management. For time management, there is this simple rule that you allocate 1.8 minutes per mark. So if you can do that, which means that if your the total time, that is 3 hours, 3 hours would mean 180 minutes. So if I would just calculate how I have calculated this 1.8. So if it is 180 minutes and there are 100 marks to complete in this time, so it means that the the total time for 1 mark is 1.8. So this is how I have calculated this. Okay, so that would be 1.8. Okay, this is a very important guideline. This would help you manage your exam time with ease. Okay, you could always multiply the number of marks allocated to any question, and then you can decide how much time you can allocate here. So this is a golden rule. 180 minutes are available and you have to complete 100 marks. So 1.8 minutes per mark. So that's quite important to remember. Then, as we have already discussed, I also told you that I'm going to discuss this thing in detail. There is an order to attempt the section A and section B. So the reason behind this recommended approach, this recommended order, is that you people have this 60 marks allocated in these two sections, and the required marks for passing the exam are only 50. So you need to have this section prepared very well so that you could secure maximum marks from these two sections. And then if you have scored like 30 36 marks or 40 marks from this area, then there's a very small amount of marks that you are looking at section C. So at times section C can be challenging for students. So if you, even if you're not very well prepared about section C, but you're well prepared in section A and section B, the MCQ style questions, then you could actually easily secure a pass in this exam. However, the students who are well prepared, they could also use the same approach and save enough time for section C questions and score really high in the exam. Okay, but again, the key to score high marks is to practice as much as much as you can. This is the key. But the practicing has to be very very specific, very targeted, and quality based. It means that you do not try to do a lot of questions. You try to do a certain amount of questions, but you need to have a proper understanding of everything. A lot of students have this misconception that you do this many past papers, you do this many questions. They say, I've done this kit or that kit, but they never really complete their questions. They do not thoroughly understand questions. So, despite doing a lot of practice, they end up performing badly in the exam. So, the best way is to understand every question. And you see, a lot of questions would be very challenging. So you practice them twice, you practice them thrice. What if you want to practice them the first time? You should do that. There are some basic questions. I will be sharing my other video where I have discussed specific questions which the examiner team has outlined and highlighted. So those questions should be done again and again. So to understand the concept in depth, so that is the important thing, the quality in your study. You do not do a superficial study. You try to understand everything and try to get to the base of the concept. So this is very important. So the order, but the way of understanding is that you understand everything properly. You do not leave a question with partial understanding. If there is something not understood, you need to be very clear about it. Only then you move on to the next question. The next question, the next important technique is to read the requirements properly. Because if you have read the requirements properly, you can answer the question well. If you haven't understood the requirement, how will you answer well? So that's very important. A lot of students get into this anxiety and anxious state, and they do not read the requirements properly, and they just haphazardly attempt questions which and they do not perform well in the exam. So it's very, very important to spend the required time on understanding and reading the requirement and then performing according to that. Then I have this relate to the answers. This is specific to your interpretation questions. There will be points, there will be issues in the questions which are related to the interpretation or other scenarios of the question. And the examiner wants you to find them and relate to your answers. So that way you can score extra marks. So again, I will share that video where I have discussed this scoring extra mark technique in detail. Okay, so this is very specific to this exam, that your answers should be very specific, not generic answers. So this is very important because the examiners would see that there is a certain calculation, there is a certain format that you followed. That's all right, but there are certain marks which help markers realize that this student has a deeper understanding, and then that brings you to the higher tier, to the high score. Okay, which is very important. So you need to understand, and while you write your answers, you have to relate to those specific points given in the question. So this is very important. Again, we will discuss these things during the live session when I'm going to do questions with you. regarding this topic. Okay, so now the next major tip is the planning of section C. Now you see, section C is, I would say, the most complicated section because this is not MCQ based. This is a proper structured question. So you need to have good grip on Excel, and you also need to have a good idea how to present your answer. First of all, you have to present your answer. Then later on, you have to show your working. The working should be properly referenced, and there are specific workings which the examiner is looking for, and you need to make sure that you are very good at them and you perform them well, you present them well in the required format, in the required way, which will be discussed in the lecture videos. So that's quite important. And the students who score well actually do really well in section C. So section C is very critical section of the exam. So that's very important. How to plan. So this is not something very difficult to do. This can be easily achieved with a lot of exam practice. If you do questions specific to every standard, specific to every topic, you will automatically have this grip on section C, how to work on this section. Managing time, again, it has been discussed a lot, that how to manage time. I've discussed here like how much time you can allocate to per mark, but this time management is so important. Why I emphasize the importance of time management, because you see, you have to score 50 to pass this exam. But if you have been bad in managing time and you have only attempted 70% of the exam, then what are you trying to achieve? You're only trying to achieve 50 marks out of 70 marks, which is very difficult. But if you have managed your time properly and you have attempted the whole 100 marks exam, so then you are actually trying to get 50 out of 100, which is not that difficult. Okay, so time management is of prime importance. Okay, I would again explain that attempting a 60 marks exam or an 80 marks exam would make it difficult to score high or difficult to secure a pass. Okay, so you need to make sure that you attempt your whole 100 marks, and that is only possible if you have good time management technique. Again, that takes me back to the three things: practice, practice, and practice. The more practice you do, the more speed you're going to get, and you're going to do the exam in time. Okay, now there are certain rules, certain formulas, certain formats which you need to understand. So memorizing themselves won't work. I will tell you the way to memorize them. So the easiest way to memorize a format, the easiest way to memorize a formula is to attempt them again and again in various questions. So when you have attempted them, you will automatically, after a certain while, you will feel that now you learned that thing. Someone asks you how to calculate the retained earnings, the group retained earnings, or the NCI, or a certain difficult ratio, the price earning ratio, or the EPS. You will be easily calculating that. Okay, so memorizing is not going to help. It is going to be the practice that is going to help you memorize those formats, those rules, those formulas. Okay, so this is quite important, that you have a deeper understanding of these exam techniques, and that's from my side. Now, if you people have any questions, you people can ask your questions. So if there are no questions, then I can move on to the next slide. We're going to have a detailed discussion on the. Okay, so here we have the important topics of the syllabus, and I would give you a brief overview of those topics. You see, the most important standard is the IAS 16, the International Accounting Standard 16. This standard would be, the questions related to this standard would be found in every financial accounting, financial reporting exam. So this is such an important standard. You will be you will be looking at questions relating to this in group accounts, in consolidations, in your interpretations, in your section A, in your section B. like it will be tested in cash flows. It will be tested in any financial statements question, in a lot of MCQs. This is also related to many other standards, because like this is one major standard, and there are other standards which are the IS 20, which is also related to this standard. So the other ISs which are also related to this IS 16, one is the IAS 20, which is the government grant. It is not a big standard on its own, but it is related to IS 16 because the grants are really received for assets. Then there is this IS 23, which is the standard which is related to the borrowing costs. So that is also related to that. Then there is another standard which is the IS 40, which is investment property, which is also related to IS 16. So there are a lot of standards which are related to this major standard, and they will be tested alongside. Okay, you will always see questions in relating to that. Okay, so this is quite important. Then the intangibles are also the non-current assets, but they are intangibles, and that is also a favorite area of the examiner. The intangibles frequently tested, and it is also related with the impairment. So these three are like the standards which will be tested in all the three sections. Okay. Then another standard which has been seen to be tested by the examiner in variety of different ways is the IFRS 15, which does not seem to be a very big standard or a very complicated one, but the examiner seems to have this seems to be very fond of this standard, and gives you questions of variety of challenges and variety of ways. So this has been the feedback provided by my students, that this standard has been tested a lot. So in the live sessions, we're going to attack the standard. In the first thing that we're going to do is going to be IFRS 15 or some other major standard. Then comes the really major, the monstrous standards which the students believe. But I'm sure that after watching the lecture videos on site, doing the question practice, attending the live sessions, you will have really strong grip, and you will feel that this was IFRS 16, this was IFRS 9, so you will find them very easy. Okay, so on face of it, it seems very challenging. These are challenging standards, but we are going to cover them in a way that you're going to find them easy. I'll give you certain tips on dealing with the standards, like how the examiner tests these standards. So we're going to make ourselves strong in those specific areas. Okay, so these are very important standards. That's another two challenging standards would be IAS 12, which is famous. The taxation, the deferred tax is included in that. So again, the words are like deferred tax or something like that. These are weird words, but these are not difficult. Again, we're going to have this a certain structure on attempting those questions. Then EPS, another challenge for a lot of students, which will be done in a way. I will give you certain guidelines which will make it very easy. The problem with this standard, you see, if I tell you something specific about the standard is that, you see, we have been discussing interpretations, we have been discussing ratios. So there are a lot of ratios. You have this profitability ratios, you have the liquidity ratios, you have the financial efficiency ratios, you have the shareholders ratio. So there are various variety of ratios, and none of the ratio is covered through an accounting standard, but this specific ratio is covered through a specific standard, which is IAS 33. So you can imagine how important this one accounting ratio is. And you see, this is closely monitored by the shareholders, because they want to know how much earning they're getting as compared to the share price. So this is one standard, or this is one ratio which is for which a whole accounting standard is developed, and it is a very detailed standard, and a lot of students get into a lot of trouble dealing with this one because they do not understand the essence, like the reason for all those complicated workings. So if you understand the logic behind why we are doing all those complicated workings, the workings start to make sense. They seem easy. Okay, so there are those important things. The I would say the essence of every standard If you understand that, then you're going to find it very easy. So this is going to be my intention to make things easy for you, and that is only possible through proper understanding. So again, the since while discussing all this, we have again discussed the accounting ratios and then the other area, which is the group accounts, the consolidated statement of profit and loss, the consolidated statement of financial statements, the treatment of associates is also quite important. The sale of subsidiaries is also quite important. So these are the areas which will be tested, and you see the examiner has dedicated the whole question to these two specific areas. Okay, now we come to the common pitfalls. The common pitfalls are coming here alongside the syllabus because the pitfalls are related to the accounting standards. Okay, so when students do not have proper understanding of a specific accounting standard, then the students start misapplying an accounting standard and end up wasting time and end up losing a lot of marks. So these common pitfalls can be avoided by understanding the accounting standards properly. We have a very comprehensive set of lecture videos through which you can have a very good, very deep, thorough understanding of the accounting standards and other concepts. So I will be discussing what should be your line of action, what you should be doing first, second, third, and we're going to discuss that in the next slide. Okay. So I hope I was able to give you a good review of the whole syllabus, the important areas. Okay, I've got a question here. Yeah, that is what I just said, that the ratios, this is one of the limitations of ratios, that there is no accounting standard related to ratios. Like there's only one ratio for which there is a standard, which is the earning per share. Otherwise, ratios do not have any accounting standard. So you end up finding various formulas for ratios, which are all accepted, but that is possible. And the ratios, this is one of the limitations, like a problem with ratios, that if you have number of formulas for a ratio, and that would be a problem. Yes, the tips for quickly understanding the syllabus is to follow the format, like the format that has been given in the VLS page. How to approach specific topics. They are organized in a way that the proper connection, just as I've just said, the IS 16 is related to those specific standards, IS 20, the IS 40, IS 23. So if you just follow the pattern, just follow the order on the site, you can easily and quickly cover the syllabus. You could basically, the important thing is to develop the understanding and then attempt the questions. So for every topic there is a lecture video, then there are question practice, and then there are quizzes which you need to attempt to assess yourself. Okay, so we're going to discuss that in the next slide. Yes, the tips to finish the syllabus quickly is that you allocate a certain time to your studies, and that has to be done consistently. You cannot just sit on weekends for like 4 hours, 5 hours. That's not advisable. You need to allocate time on a daily basis. I know most of you are working, so my recommendation for time management in terms of study is that you find all the little spaces that you have, and you keep a track of how much of work has been done, and you move from there on, and then you go about it. But do work every day. You see, we do a lot of activities, we do a lot of things that end up wasting a lot of time. So if we could curtail those activities, like we are stick to devices or we spend a lot of time with friends or other things, so this exam, this qualification is very important. It is going to make a huge impact. So you need to manage your time in a very careful way. You have to be very miserly when it comes to wasting time. So you should not be wasting time. You should be finding time, how I can allocate time to just study. And this has to be done on a consistent basis. For example, there should not go a day that you haven't studied, you haven't watched your videos, you haven't made notes, you haven't done any question practice. So if that is the case, then you will see that after a very short while you will start feeling that things are not that difficult and you can actually cover them. Okay, so this is my tip, that don't waste time. If you make good use of the time, you can do a lot, you can achieve a lot. So with you people, all of you working, you have to, it is up to you, it is up to your own circumstances where you can find time, how you can save time. So this is up to you, because I also have to work, I also have to find time. So I find those little spaces and I do not waste them, I utilize them and do my work so that I could accomplish. Okay, so like this is the only way you can accomplish your objectives, you can achieve your objectives. So I would like to move on now. Well, I've said all this because there's no shortcut to the deeper like understanding. You have to have good understanding. So there's not a roller coaster that you run over the syllabus. It's the in-depth understanding. So that has to be done gradually. That has to be done consistently. Okay, so the next thing, the resources that are at your disposal, the study tips which are being offered by Vertex is there's a huge list, and I will give you guidelines how to use that. So as I've discussed, that lecture videos are very important. The first, your first line of preparation is lecture videos. You understand the concept. Then for every lecture videos, there are question practice videos. You do those question practice videos to understand the concept, and then to test yourself on how well you have understood and how well have you understood the question practice, you attempt quizzes, because the question practice videos are just done by the tutor, you haven't done anything. So when you do quizzes, only then you realize what is your progress, what have you achieved, like what is your state of understanding, how well you understand things. So these three things should be done in the order. So do not skip them. So if you skip the lecture videos, you're going to be lacking in the understanding. Then based on those lecture videos, you will watch the question practice videos to see how those concepts understood in the lecture videos are applied. And then you're going to test yourself, because watching a lecture video, watching a question practice video is only watching the tutor do the job. Well, how will you assess yourself, like how well are you doing a job? That is only possible when you attempt the quizzes. Okay, so that's why quite important. And then after certain important topics, we have a progress test, so that is also there. So that is another testing way. And at the end we also have mocks, and we during every week we have those live sessions which are uh, related to specific challenging standards, specific challenging areas. So the live sessions are dedicated for them. Then another element which is offered by Vertex is the assignments. We have included the assignment section specific to all the exams. Is the reason because the students are very weak in answering the questions, in answering the theoretical questions. So they can deal with numbers, but they are not great at dealing with the theoretical long answers where you have to write your answers, and that is mainly required in section C. So for that, to develop that skill, develop your ability to write good theoretical answers, we have developed set of assignments which we expect you to do. And when you do them, I will be marking them, I will be giving you feedback on those assignments so that you could improve your skills. But for assignments, I would like to tell you that I would appreciate if you do the assignments on your own. You see, these days we have everything on the internet. We have all the chat GPTs, the DeepSeek, and all sorts of things. So which are not going to be useful in the exam. So if we are doing the assignments using all that, then we are only wasting our time. We're only fooling ourselves. So the assignments have to be done by yourself. And if you do a wrong assignment, if you do badly, then you only realize. And I will be giving you feedback. I will be giving you the improvements that you can do to make you yourself feel like better in the exam. Because in the exam there's going to be no help. There's going to be no internet. There's going to be no book. So you have to write the answers on your own. You can consult the book, but you have to write answers in your own words. This is very important. And then on top of it, we have the WhatsApp support. All of you are already in WhatsApp. The ones who are not can request. We will be adding you to the group. And if you have any questions, some questions is not like easily understood, so you can post that question on the group. You can also privately send the message to me. I would respond to you. I try to respond quickly, but if I'm stuck somewhere, so it might take some while. But the WhatsApp support is there, and we have a very active WhatsApp group, and students continuously post their questions, and I respond. And at times, other students also respond. So it's a very like healthy environment where everyone is ready to support everyone. So all of this stuff is discussed here, the lecture videos, the question practice videos, the quizzes, the progress test, which I've already mentioned. This is the methodology. This is the order that you follow in your study. So this is a lot of stuff available at your disposal, which we're offering. So from our side, the content is ready, the support is there. Now it's up to you how to use it properly and effectively. Okay, I have a question. Yes, the live sessions will follow the pattern of the lecture videos on the site on the FR page, but they will be focusing on the complicated topics. We cannot discuss everything, so for this we're going to be doing the complicated topics, like all the important standards will be covered. Specific questions related to those standards will be covered during the live sessions, and you can use live sessions. You can talk to the tutor. I will be your tutor for the exam, and I'm going to be taking your questions, and you can like ask your individual questions, or if there is any question that is making problem, you can ask that in a live session. So live sessions could be very good interactive opportunity for you people. So students, I will welcome your questions here now. Like that is all from my side. I have explained the contents of the exam tips, and the approach that you need to adopt, the benefits of studying the exam. So now I would like to have your questions. If there is anything that you want to ask, if you haven't understood anything, you're welcome. So no questions. It seems that I have explained everything very well. Okay, so you see, you will have plenty of opportunity to discuss your problems with me. We're going to have the live sessions. We're going to have the WhatsApp support going on. Okay, so I think I have a question here. Yes, you're welcome. Okay, okay, you want me to take to the okay. Let's do that. That's a good idea. Let's start that. So I'm preparing I'm going to show you the page, and so that you could see the FR page, and I'll go through the the contents, the order, so that you could benefit further from it. So here we have the page. This is something that you will be looking at when you access this page as a student. So this is your VLS FR page. So you see these are the resources, some of the topics which come from the initial paper FA that is going to be coming. Then we're going to have you see for every topic these are just the brief videos so that if you people face any problems in the basics you can cover that, you can understand them properly. Then there is this conceptual framework, the videos related to that. Again, you know, the concept would be discussed. There are the study notes after end of every topic. Then there are quizzes relating to this topic. Then there is, as I told you, the IFRS 15 is going to be the first one. I will share a document today or tomorrow where we're going to be discussing the format of the live sessions, like what will be discussed in the first live session, the days, and the second live session, and so on. So you see again, these are the topic, the lecture videos, and these are the question practice videos, and then you have the study notes, then you have the quizzes. So you see, it's a very like we do not leave a standard, we cover a standard. We do the question practice videos, we do the notes, we do the quizzes. So when you move on after a standard, you're actually completely understood it. So then we move on to the next one, which is the most important one, as I have identified, the PPE, property, plant, and equipment. So again, the videos related to that, the question practice videos, the notes, and then the quizzes. Then there's another standard. Uh, this is just a overview of the standard, which is not really tested in FR, but we just want to have included that so that you have some understanding of how fair values are calculated. Then you see we're continuing with the IS 16, and the IS 40 is related to that, the investment property. Again, the understanding of it, the question practice videos, notes, and quizzes. Then the all important intangibles, goodwill, the understanding of the concept, questions, and so on. So we follow with the impairment, and then we have this provisions for these. These are not major standards, but these are tested here. So we will be providing you the understanding, question practice videos, quizzes, borrowing cost, again related to your main IS 16, then the small standards IS 10, IS 20, and then the major giant standard comes the IS 12, taxation, then the IS 2. So everything is covered. And you see the videos are not very long. You could easily cover them. The time duration is also mentioned here in front of every video, so you could understand it properly. Then there is this the foreign exchange, the IS 21. Again, the understanding of that, the quizzes relating to that, IS 8, IFRS 5. So all the standards are like separately explained. Their question practice videos starting from here and then so on. So it's a very comprehensive set of study. You do not expect like a lot of videos. These are reasonably sized videos, but for the longer standards, they are there. Okay. Yes, that is very possible. It's up to you how you allocate time, how you practice the content available. So it's not difficult. A lot of students do that, but it is up to you how you uh, plan your time. So these are the videos from the previous sessions. Like these are how we cover in day one of the live session, day two, day three. All the important topics are covered, and you see the time of every video is also mentioned here. So this is your FR page. You could go and you need to start today to have a good understanding of it all. Okay. So it was a good idea to share this FR page so you could benefit from it more. So I think you have good understanding of all the areas, and I have explained you your study material as well. So I think you see you can clap with both hands. So if something is prepared from our side, now the effort has to come from your side so that we could clap properly and clap for your success. Okay. So that is all from my side. And I wish you all the best for this course. And I think you're going to have a really good time uh, studying, understanding this challenging exam. Okay, got a question here. Well, it depends on you. It depends on your schedule, but you should study some every day. Like the ideal is you should be spending around 1 to 2 hours, depending. Like initially, it might seem difficult that the things are tough, but as you progress, you will start feeling confidence. You will start understanding things easily. So this is what I expect, but I expect you to be consistent. I do not expect you to be spending like 6 hours on weekends or something like that. I want you to work regularly and work in a programmed way, like do the question practice videos. And a lot of students think like, first of all, let's watch the question videos of all the syllabus and no question practice. Then that is useless. This is waste of time. You understand the concept, you watch the question practice videos, then you test yourself by attempting the quizzes, which is very important. So that sort of approach is needed. And the more time you can allocate, depending on your schedule, depending on your understanding level, you have to decide it for your own self. But what I can recommend is consistency. That stay consistent, do work every day, do understand, to make a milestone that I'm going to do this much. And the important thing is not to cover this many chapters or this many videos. The important thing is to have a deeper understanding of the concept. That is the main thing that you should be looking at. Yes, if there are any questions, you're welcome. Okay, so I guess that's it. Or you people want to have some more questions? You can ask your questions. You can unmute yourself. Fine. So I guess we can conclude it here, and I hope you have benefited from the session. That's good. So you feel confident and you have some kind of clarity of how to approach this exam. And like from my side, our support is going to be complete and always there. It's up to you how you use your time to utilize all these resources made available to you. Okay. So that is all from my side. Take good care. I wish you all the best and I want you to be successful in this exam. So that is all.